Steelers at Browns, 38 total. It's going to be a barn burner. Let's go. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is Craig Bennett, aka Cash Cake, back with another NFL Thursday night football prize picks video. I'm going to talk about both teams. We're going to go through every player like we've done in the past. Got some good feedback again about doing it that way. That way you can make your own decisions. I can give you the analysis that I see, and then just kind of how I feel at playing. Maybe put some plays out there that we do like, and then maybe see things a little bit differently. But as long as people like this format, I'll keep doing it on these island games like Thursday Night Football and Monday Night Football. And we'll just keep rolling on. Also, we'll check out, go over there to oddsjam.com and kind of show you how I use that tool to kind of find some of these, plus EV plays and some of the discrepancies in the market with price picks. And we'll kind of talk about that as well. But hey, if you like these videos, hit that like button for me, subscribe to the channel. It means a lot. We'll keep knocking out these videos and hopefully help you make a little bit of cash. And hey, one thing today, I know I'm recording this on Wednesday, but for here, Wednesday only, MLB, I put the MLB model free today. It has been awesome. First 5 money line for MLB this month's almost up 40 units. So we got a big day today. No football. Thought we'd throw it out there free. You got to click the Discord below. Join in. Just pull up the Discord, and I put the link in that Discord for the model. Again, that's only for Wednesday here on the 21st. So with that, let's just dive right in. Talk about it. All right, I have Prizepicks.com up here. They got a sweet mobile app you can download both on the Google and Apple Store. And like I said, we're going to go through just both Pitt and Cleveland here. And again, if you want access to all these picks as well that I have personally, both on sports books or price picks that I'm personally on, you can sign up with the Patreon link below as well. But like I said, today only on Wednesday, we're going to throw that model out there, and the link is in the description below for that Discord. So yeah, the line on this is ridiculous. 38 over under here. Cleveland favored by 4.5. Old Mitch Trubisky, man. I'm a Bears fan, so I had to deal with him for a while. Not very fun. And he hasn't been great here, right? He hasn't been great at all. He's played Cincinnati and New England. Average, his average, 5.1 average on his tosses. So he's doing like he normally does. Isn't chucking the ball down a ton, only a touchdown in each game. 1 interception against New England last week. But he's averaged 194 and he's had 194 and 168 passing yards. With a game like this, they're just not a good offense. They just really are not at all. He's been sacked 4 times, 3 times last game against New England, once against Cincy. So looking at his stuff here, it's where 191's probably where it should be. 20.5 pass completions. He's completed 21 of both times. He should be coming from behind here. Cleveland should kind of dominate, I would think, the line with Chubb. Chubb's been really good early in this year. And then pass attempts, 32.5. He's had 33 and 38. I kind of like this one taking more here because I think the game's not going to be super fast, but I think he's going to be playing from behind. But again, more just leans on these, not super excited about taking anything of Mitchie boy stuff. Interception, he threw just 1 so far this year in that New England game, but he's always due for an interception if you want to pull a trigger on that one. Not really going to touch his pass and rush yards here. Don't really love it. Good 9.5 rush yards. Again, don't really love a whole lot of Mitch's stuff. But if I had to choose one, it would probably be, again, his pass attempts, just going over that 33 and 38 so far this year. And if they're going to be playing from behind, they're going to have to throw a lot. And he throws a lot of dump offs. So coming down here to Najee Harris, had some big games last year, but it's not the same team, right? Big Ben was back last year. But going up against Cleveland last year, he had 91 yards rushing on October 31st last year, and then on January 30, put up a $188. But this year, man, just hasn't been great. 23 rush yards against Cincinnati, 49 against New England. Just not doing it. And the rush attempts aren't there, 10 and 15. So it's really hard to touch that line if he's only going to get that many attempts. And so, we played 60% of the snaps in Cincinnati, 71 in New England. I'm probably going to be staying away just because I don't love it. And I think there's a lot of question marks on both sides where that can kind of come from. Najee Harris, receiving yards, we kind of look at that a little bit. I think I probably have a little bit more love for this one. He didn't do great in Cincinnati, but only had, 2 targets, caught both of them for, I think it was 9 yards. Wasn't a ton. And then he caught, in the New England game, he caught 40 yards worth of balls, 5 for 6. And we'd probably see more of that, I would assume. Cleveland game twice last year, 29 yards and 18 yards with 3 receptions each. And I think with the way Mitch plays, I kind of do like this one. Receptions at 3. I wish it was at 2.5. I really do with him. And I said he caught 3 balls both early last year. He's caught 2 balls and 5 balls so far this year. And I think they're going to continue to, to target him. And the juice out there is -175 to -180 on the over 2.5. So at 3, it's already, I wish it was at 2.5. I would hammer this all day long. But at 3, I still think it's playable, but I think, you're probably going to see 4 to 5 receptions for him. So I don't mind that one. I probably lean the reception yards a little bit more. But these would the ones I would look at. I don't really want to touch and gamble on the rushing yards or the rushing and reception yards. Honestly, these are the 2 if I'm looking at Najee Harris stuff, and we might throw one of these up here. We'll throw receiving yards, but again, more 17.5. But I don't mind the receptions as well. If you don't have a Prizepicks account by now, I don't know what you're waiting on, but if you don't have one, make sure you sign up using that code DFSArmy. Get yourself a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. And Deontay Johnson. Let's talk about Deontay Johnson a little bit. And the receiving crew here, again, it's just not been a good offense at all. And he's got the talent behind him, but he's got the weapons. Claypool, Johnson, George Pickens, man. I mean, he's a great talent coming from Georgia, and then Freiermuth. I mean, he's got great receiving options, but it's still Mitch Trubisky, and that's the thing. So 55.5 yards here for Deontay Johnson. I don't know if I can go there. I really don't. I mean, he's had 55 and 57 reception yards, playing around 80% of the snaps, both those games. The targets are there, 7 for 12 and 6 for 10, but Mitch is so unreliable. I would lean probably, taking more of the 5.5 receptions if he's going to continue to get that kind of targets. I would lean more on both of these. I think they're decent lines, but it does worry me having Mitch toss the ball to him. But if I had to pick one, I'd probably lean receptions more. But that target's 12 and 10 in the first 2 games is kind of nice. Looking at Claypool here, we're going to see less targets out of him. So having this at 4, I don't love it, but he did catch 6 balls in both games, playing 92% of the snaps though, playing almost all the snaps, but 18 and 26 yards. Like he's more of a deep ball threat, and they're just not doing it. So hard to really touch any of his. I'd much rather look at something like Deontay Johnson's receptions or yards than I would Claypool. Freiermuth, you would think that he would look to his tight ends a ton here, considering that's kind of what he does. And he's had 10 targets the first game and 7 targets the second game. So that's kind of, saw a lot of that, when he played for the Bears. 5 and 4 receptions for Freiermuth here, 35.5 yards. Again, he's playing around 90% of the snaps first game, 80% the second game. Had massive 75 yards that first game in Cincinnati. Well, that was a fun game to watch. Kickers couldn't do anything. And then last week, only 22 yards, 4 for 7. So again, I would kind of lean taking more of both of these as well. If he's not going to chuck the ball down the field to guys like Pickens and Claypool, he's going to look at Deontay Johnson and Freiermuth a ton. So I don't mind taking a chance at taking one of these for more. But if you're going to get 10 and 7 targets out of your tight end, I do think 4 is probably a little high. But at the same time, the juice is -160 on the over at 3.5 at some of the books out there. So I don't mind taking a shot at something like this. We might throw this one up here. I think he probably at least gets it. But if you're going to see that many targets, he can catch quite a bit of balls, and they should be down in this game. George Pickens here. Again, the rookie, I have a hard time, taking him. Only got 3 targets both games, only caught 1 ball each time, 3 yards and 23 yards. I'm just going to kind of stay away from this in particular. I just don't think he can get there in one play. But receptions, I wouldn't touch. I would much rather feel comfortable on Freiermuth and DJ than like I say, Claypool and Pickens. And then coming down here, looking at the kickers, not sure I really want to touch, Boswell here. If they're playing from behind, has had 11 and 6 fantasy score both times. 3 for 4 field goals in that first game in Cincinnati, and then just 2 field goals at New England. So I would lean more, but nothing I feel great about. And then, punts. You gotta love the punts here. Looking at Presley Harvin, maybe they punt a ton. Maybe I look at the more 5.5. With a total of 38, we could see a lot of 3 and outs. So I would look at that. Maybe you want to take the over or more than Presley Harvin. And then again, looking at, tackles here on the defensive side here with Witherspoon, he had 6 tackles. He had 8 tackles and assists game 1 against Cincinnati, only 2 against New England. Only saw around 70% of the defensive snaps that second game, saw 100% the first game. So I'm not sure I really love that. Looking at, Highsmith at 4 tackles and assists, had 9 that first game, 3 the second game. Again, something that I'm not sure I really want to jump on, but again, the juice is minus 160 on the over 3.5. So, that could be a value play to take the 4 here, honestly. We might look at that. Played Cleveland twice last year, 4 and 7 tackles and assists. So we might look at this one a little bit. I don't mind that. Fitzpatrick, when his tackles, he had 14 game 1, 6 game 2, minus 150 on the over 6.5. So if you want to take a shot on that one, I don't mind it at all. Looking at Miles Jack a little bit, he's went clearly over this. The line is at 7.5, and most of the books out there at minus 150 on more than 7.5, even at 8.5. He's had 10 and 13 the last 2 games. I think that's something. He played 87% or almost 90% of the snaps in both games. You kind of have to love that. So if you want to take a chance on Miles Jack, that linebacker, they're going to be running the ball a ton. He should get a ton of work. So we might throw him in this one. And that's what I'm kind of look on this side. And then we look at Edmonds a little bit. I don't think I'm going to touch this one at all. At 4.5, he is juiced up as more at minus 145. Had 6 and 4 in the first 2 games that he's played. But I think Miles Jack and Highsmith, these 3 are the ones I look at. But I think Jack being there in that linebacker position and Highsmith are the ones I would gravitate towards a little bit more. Let's jump on over real quick and check out oddsjam.com, and we'll see a little bit. I'll show you kind of how I pull up some of their using their tool to find out some of these plays real quick. So let's jump on over there and check it out. All right, I have oddsjam.com pulled up. Again, link in the description below. If you sign up for a free 7-day trial, you can also sign up for the mailing list. Well, they'll give you a plus EV plays. They show you everything about, what's plus EV here. Again, I pulled up this game right here. You can type in whatever you want to pull up, any kind of prop or any kind of line that you want. I currently have player receptions pulled up, just so I can kind of show you a little bit. Nick Chubb here has, under, minus 167. We're looking at this oddsjam.com line, and we're comparing it to these books. So minus 167 here, and you can also look at the sports books out there and see, hey, we can get minus 140 at DraftKings. That's where I want to play it. But Prizepicks, it's usually minus 137 on a 2-man power play, minus 119 on a 5-man flex. So that's something I looked at taking the under on. If they're not going to be playing from behind, they got Hunt that comes in and spells him. So that's what we're looking at, under 2.5 for Hunt. If they're going to get up, they could just pound the rock, right? If they're going to be down, they're probably going to use the running backs a little bit more. So this is where we're kind of seeing it here. As you can see, Najee Harris, minus 182 for over 2.5. We saw that line at 3. So like I said, the worst you could probably do in this is push, because that's a great, I still think it's good value to take that. So this is where we're kind of looking here. If we're saying minus 116 on the under 2.5, I kind of understand that. We kind of went over these receptions, right? Pat Freiermuth, over 3.5. They got the line at 4, but minus 181. There's 20-cent value on this if you go over to Barstool Sportsbook. And this is kind of how we're finding these plays, right? We're kind of seeing what's out there. We talked about Deontay Johnson. They say under 5.5 here. I can understand that's a pretty high line. And if this is the line that they're saying, maybe you want to go over and check it out at Caesars at minus 111 and get 27 cents there. So this is kind of how I use it, pulling up different, receptions, rushing yards, everything that they have, and kind of using this and going back and forth through this and Prizepicks and see if there's any, discrepancies in the market with Prizepicks that they have. So it's a really good tool. Highly recommend it. Link in the description below. Let's go back and check out the Cleveland side of the ball. All right, let's go, and I'm going to clear this out. We went through and kind of talked about some of our favorite Pittsburgh plays that we have. Let's pull up Cleveland here and kind of see what we have on this side of it. So we got Brisket, old Jacoby Brissett here. We're going to have him for quite a few games here until Watson comes and plays. So, the line out there is like 189.5 with juice down on the under a little bit. He's thrown 147 and 229 in the first two games. Hasn't thrown a ton, 34 times against that Cincinnati game, but it was tight, and only 27 times, real rush heavy that game against New England. But 185.5, I don't think I would touch this at all, honestly. If you think it's going to be a close competitive game, maybe he goes over it. But I'm kind of leaning more of taking less than the passing yards on this. They have no problem just running the rock, right? So looking at Brissett, 17.5 pass completions. Again, 18 and 22 in those first two games. Again, I'm kind of going to stay away from this. Pass attempts, 34 and 27 those first two games, 27 here. Probably a pretty good line, but again, if they're going to get up, they have no problem just running the rock with Hunt and Chubb all day. And then 207.5. Again, not something I really want to touch as well. He did have 157 and 272 last game where he had some good rush yards. He had 43 rush yards that second game, 10 the first game. He has no problem tucking a little bit, but I think another one I'm going to kind of stay away from. If I was going to take anything, it would probably be the rush yards with him at 9.5. I would take more than that, honestly. Nothing I'm super excited about, though. It's not like a smash play, but I'm just kind of clicking through the ones I gravitate more towards just by looking at it. Again, 10 and 43 rush yards in those first two games. If they do get any pressure on him, he has no problem tucking it and going. But if they get up, and they don't get pressure on him, that's the one thing you kind of have to worry about a little bit. But he did have 4 and 6 rush attempts those first two games. Nick Chubb, like I said, they have no problem running the rock with this dude. You always got to worry about how much work Hunt is going to get, and that's what you always worry about, right? He only played 50% of the snaps in both games. 53% the first game was Carolina, 54% against the Jets, but he did have 22 and 17 carries in both of those games in the 42 and 36 snaps he did see. So when he's in there, you're more likely going to get the rock. Average 6.4 and 5.1 those two games. 141 and 87 rush yards. So I would lean, if I had to take this, I would lean taking, the more than 82 and a half. But at the same time, it's risky because, Hunt could get a lot of work as well, which, that's what worries me a lot. And it's like Chubb can have massive games and they can have games where they have no problems just running with Hunt. So that's the risk that you have with choosing a lot of these Chubb plays. Rush attempts, again, 22 and 17. I talked about that a little bit. The receptions here, 1.5. He had 3 last game against the Jets, but man, they should have won that game, and they had to try to come back late. Like, they were up, and the Jets come back, and I'm like, wow, I really can't believe they lost that game. It was insane. But before yesterday, he had only 1 reception in the last 3 games. Again, he's not playing a ton of snaps. I don't think we're going to see a ton of targets. I don't mind taking less than 1.5 receptions here. I talked about how the juice was under, minus 140 on less than 1.5 receptions out there in some of the books. So I don't mind looking at that one. Rush touchdowns, again, if you want to take a TD there for, he had 3 last game. He had 0 game 1. But that's the risk with him. Is Hunt going to get him? Is Chubb going to get him? That's your risk here. And then reception yards, he had hardly anything, I think 1 or 2 yards in the first game, 26 in the second game, but he had, again, those 3 receptions. Again, I would lean going less than both the reception yards and receptions. We'll go throw this one less. I don't think they're going to need it this game against Pitt. I really don't. If it's a close game, maybe they get there a little bit, but Hunt's more of the receiving back, but they don't mind throwing the Chubb if they have to. Amari Cooper, he came back and had a pretty decent game, game 2, 101 yards on 9 of 10, played 81% of the snaps. So, they paid him money to come over here from Dallas. And, I don't mind if you want to take that. The problem is I don't think they're going to throw to him a ton if they get up. And that's where it's like I have a hard time, attacking that. I think I feel better at receptions. 3 for 6 that first game, 9 for 10 that second game. Probably see something closer to the first game, though, like I did Carolina. Probably see 6 to 8 targets. But if he can catch 4 balls, he'll get you there. But still worry a little bit about that in the game script that I kind of have in my mind. And, again, how Vegas sees it with them being 4.5 point favorites. Not massive favorites, but still. Looking at the tight end, Njoku, I don't know if I really want to take him either. Getting the work, that last game, 3 for 5. But the first game, he only had one target, 1 reception, 7 yards with that. Second game, 32. I'm just going to stay away from that. We talked about Kareem Hunt a little bit here. Reception yards, he is sitting 15.5. He had 24 and 16 in those 2 games, 4 receptions and 2 receptions. So I would take more than the 2 receptions here, or more than the 15.5. But again, if they get up, how much are they really going to throw to these guys? But Hunt's going to get more of the work in the air than we're going to see Chubb. So I don't mind looking at that. Again, they split the snaps. We look at Hunt, 56% of the snaps game 1, 46% of the snaps game 2. So again, they split it almost evenly, which is so frustrating when you're trying to play plays like this and you're looking at taking the more or less than these. It makes it a struggle to trying to figure out who's going to get the work, with the split, and it's who's gonna do well. So I would kind of lean the reception yards and the receptions here, but again, I don't get too excited about this at all. People Jones, the line 32.5. He had 60 that first game, 6 for 11, only 1 target that second game, nothing. So if anything, I would probably take less than this. He could get it in 1 or 2 catches. If you think it's going to be a tight game and they're going to need to throw, I would leave this one alone. If you think Cleveland gets up heavy, with 2 touchdowns early, I don't think they're going to need to go to him. So I would look at taking less here, but not super excited about it. Then we'll look at the kicker, Cade York. I don't think you need to go here at all. 14 points that first game, Carolina, 6 in that game against the Jets. I would kind of lean taking more, though, if they get down and maybe Pittsburgh stops them in the red zone. They kick it. This could be a field goal game and not up. I would definitely lean at taking more than that. If you feel like the game's not going to have a lot of touchdowns and, the drives are going to stall in the red zone, he can add up points pretty quick that way. And then again, we look at defense here a little bit. These 3 guys, Jeremiah, 6.5 tackles. Not super excited about any of these, honestly, because I just don't know how they're gonna, go about it. I love the Cleveland or the Pittsburgh guys way more. I'm just gonna kind of stay away from these 3 guys and kind of lean a little bit more on the Pitt guys. So again, yeah, if we, like I talked about it before, we kind of like Nick Chubb looking at the oddsjam.com and seeing that the juice on these things taking less than, when it's massively over -140, I'm definitely going to take a look at it because it's a plus EV play. And that's what we're looking at when we look at oddsjam.com. So again, you can check those out in the description below. And again, if you want that free MLB model for today only, Wednesday, September 21st, just join the Discord. It's free. Pull in. You'll see it in the free picks channel. I put the link to that model today only for free. Check it out. It's up almost 40 units for this month. So I want to give back a little bit. Check it out. See if you like it or not. Sign up. Let's get after it. So with that, appreciate everything you do. I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to this. Hopefully it helps you out in your decision-making process. And I will see you guys on the flip side. Doses.